I'm Susan Devoy, the former #1 ranked squash player, holder of 4 World Open titles, who in 2013 was a controversial selection as the New Zealand Race Relations Commissioner, a role she describes as incredibly revealing. Your role as race relations conciliator, what was the main kind of learning that you took from that?
It's a very strange position, to be perfectly honest, I can say that now. I remember when I first started in the role, I was advised never to use the word racist. Pardon?
But your title was...
I know, because that would engender all sorts of very difficult conversations. I was also told at the time by the Chief Commissioner that I was responsible for every other race in New Zealand except for Māori.
Who was responsible for the Māoris then?
Well, we had a part-time Indigenous Commissioner. So you can understand how problematic my role was in the very first place, you know. So I'm not making excuses for the good and bad things I did and whether I stuffed it up or did whatever, you know. But going into an environment like that, when you think, what is your role, and you get instructed with those things at the very first place, you're going to think, well, if the Race Relations Commission is confused, imagine how everyone else is going to feel. So what have I learned? If I was to look, and I can now, because I've soul-destroying, stashed them on my computer somewhere, all the complaints that came to me personally, and I was expected to reply to them, I would say 75% of it was a sentiment of anti-Māori and anti-treaty. From Pākehās, of course. From everything, anything and everything as small as I resent being called a Pākehā, too much, you know, bigger and perhaps more important issues that you could have a frank discussion about. But, so what does that say? So that says to me that that's where we are as a country. People are very, very anti-Māori and very anti-treaty. Well, when I say very, that hasn't gone away. It's still there.
How did you, and what did you learn about the treaty and those kinds of relationships while you're in that position?
I think it was... And what I think is really important about going forward is having experiences. You know, whilst I'd been on Marais, and so many Kiwi haven't.
Yeah.
So many Kiwi don't understand about parihaka, you know, so many. And that's why I think what I learned about the treaty was it's a really positive thing. And the average New Zealander sees, you know, colonisation as a dirty word as well, because...
And something in the past.
Well, they don't understand it. So we've got to actually, as well as education in our schools for our children, which is, you know, that's how you change a generation, which is really important. But that education also needs to be about the entire New Zealand history. So not just about Māori and the treaty, because, you know, we're going to go forward and miss out all the other good bits of our Chinese, of our, you know, Muslim communities and that. But the treaty is something that is never described as being, well, not never, because we all come from, but for the... I'm always talking about Joe Bloggs here.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Yeah, it's just, you know, because these are the people that we have to bring along in the conversation. So, you know, if everybody had the opportunity to go to a treaty settlement, you know, even if you were the worst redneck racist in the whole of the country, you couldn't help but feel powerfully and emotional about, you know, what's happened there and what the good that will bring to the people. You know, I want my children, my grandchildren, to grow up knowing that if we address the inequities for Māori and Pacifica and everybody else, then that's good for everyone. That's going to make Aotearoa a much better country.
What's your response to people who complain about the treaty and Māori and racism?
I think just breathe, you know, and actually just unpack what you're saying and what you're thinking and why are you like that? But, you know, I remember Ranganui Walker telling me and taking me actually into his bedroom. I know that sounds a bit weird, but he's got his whole whakapapa, all his, you know, whānau on the wall, and there's Chinese and Māori and Japanese and whatever. And funny that we were in a bedroom, and Deirdre was there too, and he said, you know, race relations is happening in the bedrooms. And it's quite right. So I sometimes say to these people, you know, your grandchild might be Māori or Chinese or whatever. Do you want them growing up and having to face the types of conversations that we're having now?